Alright guys, welcome back. Last section we looked at parallelograms. This section is very similar, except for now we're kind of taking things in reverse. Okay, so we're going to be given some more theorems, and it's just ways to know for a fact, just given some random figure, if it is or isn't a parallelogram. Okay, so we know a parallelogram has opposite sides parallel. That's by the definition. Okay, so here's some other theorems that we're going to be able to use. If both pairs of opposite sides of a quadrilateral are congruent, then it is a parallelogram. Now what this is saying is they're not going to tell you it's a parallelogram, but what they're going to do is they're going to give you a figure that looks more like this. Okay, so you've got these opposite sides that are congruent. Okay, and they may even give you some value. So, you know, this is 5, this is 5, this is 7, this is 7, whatever it happens to be. If that's the case, then you can assume that this is a parallelogram, and so these would be parallel. Okay, and that's what they're going for. Now in the second one, it says if both pairs of opposite angles of a quadrilateral are congruent, then it's a parallelogram. So the same thing we looked at before. If those opposite angles are congruent, these opposite angles are congruent, with no other information, we can definitely guarantee that this is in fact a parallelogram. Okay, so based on the sides, based on the angles, you can tell. Now the third one here is if the diagonals bisect each other, it's a parallelogram. So I've got my diagonals looking just like this. Okay? If those things bisect each other, so that means that this one is congruent to this one is congruent to this one, with nothing on the angles and nothing on the exterior sides, if the diagonals end up being bisected like this picture shows, then it is definitely a parallelogram. Alright, and that's what they're looking for there. Alright, the final thing is if one pair of opposite sides of quadrilateral are both parallel and congruent, it is a parallelogram. So if I had these two sides that are congruent, and I also know that that same side is parallel, then what that means is that this is in fact a parallelogram. Alright, and so that would mean that these are congruent and these are in turn parallel. So that's what this is talking about. So these are basically, you're just given the four-sided figure. If one of these four things happens, it's a parallelogram. Alright, so let's try an example to see if it can work out. Alright, so here we go. We're given this picture. You see that I have angles. It tells me nothing about the side, that tells me nothing about the angles. All it wants me to do is say that these will be a parallelogram. Well, here's how you do it. I want to prove that those are congruent. Well, what's that mean? They're equal. So I take those two and I set them equal. So 7x equals 56. I'm going to divide both by 7. That means that x has to be 8. And the only way this works is if x is 8. Well, that's only one pair. It says in the theorem up above that it has to be both pairs. So that means that these two in green have to be congruent as well. Well, I can't set an x and a y equal to each other, but the nice thing is I know what x is. X is 8, so I'm going to substitute that in. So I do 4 times 8 plus 4 equals 5y minus 26. And then we just solve this. So 4 times 8 is 32, plus 4 is 36, equals 5y minus 26, and then just start solving. So I'm going to add 26 to both sides. So 36 plus 26 is 62, equals 5y. Divide by 5, and I get y is equal to 62 fifths, and there you go. So as long as y is 62 fifths, x is 8, these things are in fact a parallelogram. Alright, I would like you guys to give this a look and see if you can solve this out. Okay, for this second one, you're going to take these and prove that it is a parallelogram. So I set those two equal. You've got 3x plus 4 equals 5x minus 2. And solve it out. So minus 3x minus 3x. I'm going to add 2. So those cancel. Those cancel. I've got 6 equals 2x. That means that x equals 3. There's my first. Now the second one, I'm going to take my y's and do the same thing. So here's one of them, here's the other. So I've got 2y plus 5 equals 4y minus 9, and solve it. So subtract 2y, subtract 2y. I'm going to add 9. So those cancel. I've got 2y equals 14, so y has to be 7, and there's your final answer. Alright, hopefully that made some sense there. If you have any questions, definitely let me know. Otherwise, give your work a try, and I will talk to you soon.